disbelief. The whole thing's an unconvincing possibility. Or a convincing impossibility. I take that back. So yeah, we'll flip the Aristotle index the other way. Definitely convincing impossibilities. IMDb gave it a solid 5.7. Rotten Tomatoes hammered it. The critics did not like this movie, but the audience score was a very solid 76%. Now, why is that? I thought it was because it took a very strange and fascinating idea and it kind of presented it to you that if you hadn't knew anything about it, you were completely floored. And you will find yourself looking up different aspects of this. But the problem with this movie is there really isn't much of a story. They kind of built the child's death around the Mandela effect, and you're not quite sure how it actually fits into the whole parallel reality things until you get all the way through the movie. And then you find yourself wondering, well, did this really happen? Or was this all this just in this guy's head? Or did this whole parallel reality thing occur over a few quick moments? You don't really know until you get all the way to the end. Now, I thought it could have been a little bit longer to fill in some of the gaps, but, you know, who knows? Maybe that's what the simulation wants. Maybe the simulation wants you to leave gaps in movies. And that way, when you do watch something like this, you will just think it's just a coincidence and not the Mandela effect. So I'm sitting here watching the Mandela effect, and all through my mind, all the quirky coincidences this guy's bringing up has got me thinking to myself. And so on one hand, I'm thinking, what's a good drink to make you question reality? But, you know, is not questioning reality, is that not like the question of why we exist? So you have to either find your answer either in science or you have to find your answer in the Bible. And not that I'm against science, but I find comfort in hearing what, you know, Jesus, what he would say. What is that thing, the WW, what would Jesus do, WWJD? And I'm pretty sure Jesus would sit down with Brendan as he's looking for the answers to the universe and say, here, have something to drink. Now, the question is, what would that drink be? Well, that drink could only be one thing. It would have to be some holy water. And now, how do you make the drink called holy water? You need vodka, triple sec, a little bit of light rum, and some grenadine syrup and some tonic water. So, whenever you do the drink called holy water, you need 2 ounces of vodka, 1 ounce of triple sec, 1 ounce of some light rum, probably Bacardi Silver, 1 dash, not a lot, just a dash of grenadine, and then you want to top it off with some tonic water. So you want to combine all those things inside a glass over some ice, use the tonic water to top it off, and then add your little dash of grenadine. See, this is the kind of drink that after you have a few of these, you will find yourself in deep discussion about faith versus science versus quantum physics versus the alternate reality. And then you'll be asking yourself, did this film even actually exist? Because if you drink too much, you'll start wondering if you are in the right universe, or maybe you should be in another universe, or maybe there is no universe. Maybe we're just part of some type of massive simulation. I don't know. But if you have a few of these holy waters, you'll find out. If you could change your future right now, would you do it? Like if you knew what was going to happen tomorrow, would you change any decision that you make today, knowing what's going to happen tomorrow? Because see, the thing about what happens tomorrow is you don't know how it's going to affect the next day. There is a domino effect to this thing. So when you start altering your future, you start altering the path of your life amongst different timelines. So tomorrow you may get up and go to the coffee shop at this time, which then begets you possibly running into somebody here and then meeting somebody there, which could end up you winning the lottery. But if you knew you were going to meet that person, but you couldn't see beyond that, would you change that moment in time and go a different direction? I know. You know what? I know. I'm hurting your head right now, so let me just go ahead and just stop. Enter Nowhere is a movie about three strangers who arrive at a mysterious cabin stuck in the woods, only to be brought together for some weird particular reason. And it involves what I just talked about, being able to see beyond the results and actions and decisions that you make and where it lands you in the future. And I know you're sitting there like, what? Again, like the Mandela effect. What the hell are you talking about? All right, just roll with me on this one, okay? This film stars Catherine Waterston. She plays Samantha, and she's got 43 credits to her name. She has been in a few notable films. One of them, and I'll say this gently, Good Dick. The other film she was in is Alien Covenant. She was also in Logan Lucky, and she was semi-regular on Boardwalk Empire. Sarah Paxton plays Jodie. She has about 79 credits to her name, lots of television, video shorts. She played a mermaid in Aquamarine. Interesting. She was also in that movie called The Last House on the Left, and she did voiceovers for SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants. Yay! But the real reason why I watched this movie was because I was, scanning over the people who were involved in it, and it stars a young, strappingly handsome gentleman named Scott Eastwood. Is that a Clint Eastwood son? Yes, Scott Eastwood. I had no idea. I'm sitting there looking at him, and you can't really tell it's him until you see him kind of squint his eyes. Remember how his dad, Clint, when he's in those Westerns, he would kind of squint his eyes when he would think about something. There are a few moments in the movie when you actually see Scott like squint his eyes, and you're like, yeah. Now I see it. Now, is he as good as his dad? I can't say, Hey, listen. I'm not out there in front of a camera. I'm behind this microphone right now. So who am I to judge who can act and who can't act? He's okay. Okay. Let's just say he's got a long way, before he becomes the Pale Rider or, William E. Money in Unforgiven, but he's good. Scott Eastwood plays Tom, and he made his debut actually in Flags of Our Fathers. He was also in Gran Torino, did a video with Taylor Swift. That must have been interesting. Was a member, played Lieutenant Edwards in Suicide Squad, and was in Pacific Rim and The Longest Ride. So this film focuses on these three individuals. Okay. Catherine plays Samantha, Sarah plays Jodie, and of course, Eastwood plays Tom. Samantha enters these woods and into this cabin completely lost on how she got there, okay? And she plays the role of the innocent one, almost kind of like naive. And there are things that are kind of haunting her in her past, and you learn about them through flashbacks and other thought processes that she has. And while she begins the movie very timidly, over the course of the movie, she does find her resolve, and, an inner strength does begin to emerge. I thought of the three actors, her portrayal probably was the most poignant one. Jodie is the most angry of the group. She arrives at the cabin strictly a rebel of sorts. And while she spends most of her time as a selfish individual, she does slowly learn over time what it means to be giving of herself, and she shows remorse for the life that she has lived over the years. I think that Jodie's character went through the most changes of the film by the time it came to its end. Tom is the steadiest of the group, the most resourceful, pragmatic of the bunch. He tries his best to kind of keep an even keel on things, to try to escape their circumstances. His anger and frustration revolve around his inability to forgive or to be understanding of individuals. And eventually he finds his purpose. And while his lines sometimes can be just a little bit corny, I thought he did probably give one of the better performances. Now, the dialogue in this film, unlike the other one, is strictly designed to do one thing, and that's to move the story along. And that's fine, okay? Because when you get really well-crafted dialogue and it gives you just pieces and bits of a story, what you end up having is this really intense kind of psychological puzzle. So even though the lines may not have been delivered in the best manner, you find yourself trying to figure out what exactly is going on, okay? Because the story is a fascinating one, and it slowly slowly unravels. Now, you could probably pay attention and look at the clues and probably figure some things out, but then you would actually ruin what I would think to be a very, very interesting story that's being told. So sit back, relax, and let the dialogue carry you through the story. Stop trying to piece it together and pull together all the clues. Just enjoy it and see how these characters all kind of bounce off one another and how they relate. Now, as far as the conflicts goes in this movie, all of them basically have the same external goal. They're trying to escape the woods. However, though, internally, they all have to atone for something that's happened to them in their lives. They're stuck in this cabin, and they can't leave until they're able to resolve some of their inner demons and make changes in their life. Tom has got to forgive. Jodie's got to learn how to show remorse. And Samantha, as I said before, has got to find that inner strength. There really isn't a supernatural conflict or like another type of idealism that's kind of affecting them, but you do get the sense that there is this kind of existentialistic one about, who you are versus who you're going to be versus, who these people are you're connected to. So it definitely has a very kind of weird way that it plays itself out. As far as the plot goes, most rites of passage movies take you through the course of a longer time period, like over the course of maybe weeks or a long distance. But this one just basically takes place over a couple of days. And there are a series of problems with each one of these characters, and they're going through this process, this rite of passage, discovering of what that issue is. And while most of the stories While most stories of this kind of type, the character has an understanding of their issues, in this one, you spend the bulk of the time trying to figure out what their issue is. Now, I've kind of given it away a little bit, but you're watching them learn about their own selves. And as they learn about themselves, you also learn about them as well. Thematically, it's about forgiveness, it's about remorse, and it's about inner strength. I think all three of these things are completely interwoven into the idea of this film. They must each forgive each other for their transgressions. They have to show remorse for some reckless decisions that they all have made. And respectfully, they all have to tap into the inner strength in order to set things right and release themselves from this particular cabin. Now, I thought about a redemptive theme, but, really only two of the characters are looking for freedom for some of their own past mistakes. But for the most part, it's really about forgiveness, remorse, and inner strength. Now, as far as the structure goes, they all arrive at the cabin in the first act. In the second act, they begin to realize that they're stuck in the cabin. And by the second half of that act, they're trying to look for a way out. And then in the third act, you begin to see them come to this climactic point, and you find out that they're actually going to make it out of the cabin. Now, the director of the movie is Jack Heller, and it's written by Sean Christensen and another guy named Jason Dolan. Now, they've done pretty much a few short films, and for the most part, Jack's done a couple of videos. So I want to say that Enter Nowhere is probably, like the other guy who did the Mandela Effect, this is probably his first real big movie. Be that as it may, it's a low-budget film, but it's definitely well crafted. It kind of reminds you of that low-budget film that Ava DuVernay did, I Will Follow, where the premise is well done and the performances enhanced the story. And there really isn't a need for special effects and camera angles and all that type of stuff. This is just a pretty well done movie that's shot in the woods at a shack. There are no major camera tricks. There's a few flashbacks to kind of give us some exposition. And, the kudos go out to Sean Christensen for weaving such a great story together. The performance of the actors, I thought, I'm not going to say they left a little bit to be desired, but it could have been a little bit better. And again, like I said, I wish that the dialogue and the conversations could have been better crafted. But also, too, as much as I was trying to figure the story out, I didn't find myself totally immersed in this story. And I'm just going to be honest. It was almost as if I'm watching this and I'm enjoying it, but I'm not totally caught up into it, except for the fact of trying to figure out what was going on and how they were all connected. That was probably the only thing that kind of really held my interest. So what worked for me in this movie, I thought that it had a great story that unfolded with excellent pacing, but the ending, I thought it was a little bit incomplete. I thought there were definitely some pieces left out. Now, there's a reason why certain pieces are left out, and you have to watch it to figure that out. But I thought that it would have been nice to see all the storylines tied up very, very neatly. As far as convincing impossibilities, again, like the Mandela Effect and like all the movies I'm reviewing today, they're science fiction. They're all about alternate reality. So everything is a convincing impossibility. IMDb gave it a very, very solid 6.5. Rotten Tomatoes is solid 69, but the audience only gave it a 52%. And I get it. These are not the greatest actors.